The Colonial Parkway in Virginia was built for quiet drives, late-night peace, and scenic romance. Between Jamestown, Yorktown, and Williamsburg, it's the kind of place that feels like America telling you to slow down and breathe. But in the late 1980s, this peaceful stretch of road became the hunting grounds for one of the most disturbing killing patterns this country has ever seen. 4 couples, 4 gruesome crime scenes, and not a single arrest. And what's worse, none of it ever made sense the way a textbook serial case should. This is 15 Minutes of Murder. It begins in 1986 with 27-year-old Kathy Thomas, a U.S. Naval Academy graduate. She was smart, driven, and extremely respected. Her girlfriend, Rebecca Dowski, a 21-year-old college student at William and Mary. Rebecca was kind, academic, the type of girl obsessed with making her future matter. Kathy and Rebecca were in love. They drove the Parkway that night, simply to be together and to talk privately, away from the world judging them. They were last seen by witnesses on October 9th leaving a computer lab on the William and Mary campus. What was supposed to be a serene night wound up being the most brutal scene in the string of murders on the Colonial Parkway. On October 12th, their bodies were found inside Kathy's Honda Civic near the riverbank. They were bound with rope and medical tape. Their throats were violently cut so deep, they were nearly decapitated. There were also signs of strangulation. Kathy was stuffed in the hatchback while Rebecca was found in the back seat of the car. She had a clump of hair between her fingers, which suggested she tried to fight for her life. The killer covered their bodies and the car with fuel, but didn't commit to setting it on fire. The car itself was pushed slightly over the embankment. Like the killer wanted to hide them, but not too well. This didn't feel random. This feel was more like a rage that knew exactly what it wanted. An extremely violent overkill compared to the later victims found. David Knobling was just 20 years old. He was a young father, and a salesman. Responsible. Said to be a young man trying to do the right thing. 14-year-old Robin Edwards was an 8th grade student, a kid. Rebellious, yes, but a kid. She had snuck out later that night, after already going on a date with David's younger cousin earlier that evening. But at some point, David and Robin made plans to meet up again later, just the two of them. Despite Robin being underage, it was presumed the two had a romantic, sexual relationship. One of the last calls Robin made was to her mother, letting her know she had made it home safely after her date. Her decision to sneak out and meet up with David proved to be a fatal decision for the both of them. David's car was found on September 21st. Eerily, the doors were open, the driver's side window was partially down, the radio playing, headlights were left on, and the engine and the wipers still running in the rain. On September 23rd, their bodies were found along the James River shoreline on the opposite side of the river, partially clothed. David had a single shot to the back of the head, execution style. Robin was shot twice, once in the head and once in the shoulder. Robin's jeans were unbuttoned, and her bra was around her neck. State police later released she was sexually assaulted. The scene looked like someone forced them out of the car, marched them into darkness, and savagely executed them. Richard Keith Call was 20, from Newport News, Virginia. He was close with his family, worked locally, and was known as responsible and protective. On April 9, 1988, Keith picked up Cassandra Sandy Haley, an 18-year-old college freshman he had recently begun casually dating. Sandy was well liked, social, and excited about young adulthood finally beginning. That night, they went to a friend's party. The plan was simple: leave the party, drop Sandy home, then Keith would return home himself. They never made it. Keith's car, a Toyota Celica, was later found abandoned along the Colonial Parkway. It was left neatly parked, keys missing, wallet left behind, with no signs of forced entry or violent struggle. Their clothing and belongings left inside suggested nothing chaotic happened inside the vehicle. Police later confirmed, the clothes left behind were in fact the clothing Keith and Sandy were wearing at the party. It was suggested they may have gone skinny dipping and possibly drowned, but it was early April, and the water temperature was 40 degrees, making that suggestion highly unlikely. But the fact remains, to this day, Keith and Sandy have not been found. This disappearance became one of the sharpest and most frustrating voids in this entire series of murders, because you have victims, but no bodies, no cause of death, and no physical closure for their families. Daniel Lauer was 21, from Virginia, a dependable young man known for his easygoing nature and strong work ethic. In the summer of 1989, he had been spending Labor Day weekend having fun in Virginia Beach while staying with his younger brother Clint and Clint's live-in girlfriend, Anna. Anna Maria Phelps was 18. She came from a hard-working family from Amelia County, Virginia. Life with Clint was a financial struggle, but despite that, was independent freedom. Over that weekend, Daniel decided to move in with the two, to help financially. The plan was for Daniel to go return home to gather his belongings. Anna saw the opportunity to tag along and spend some time visiting her family back home. On September 5, 1989, Daniel and Anna Maria set off back to Virginia Beach from their brief visit. They were traveling together in Daniel's 1972 Chevy Nova heading eastbound on Interstate 64 toward home. The next day, Daniel's car was found abandoned at a rest stop in New Kent County, Virginia, but in a baffling location. It was parked in the westbound rest area, which was the opposite direction they should have been traveling to reach Virginia Beach. The keys remained in the ignition. Anna Maria's purse and other personal items were left inside, and there were no obvious signs of robbery, making a random theft motive unlikely. For nearly 6 weeks, authorities and family searched with little to go on. Then, in October 1989, 2 turkey hunters found the skeletal remains of both Daniel and Anna Maria in a wooded area about a mile from the rest stop down an old logging road. Their bodies were covered with an electric blanket that had been in Daniel's car, a detail that suggested someone had placed them there after death. Because the remains were so badly decomposed, law enforcement could not determine a precise cause of death, though some evidence suggested defensive wounds consistent with resistance. A small clue also suggesting either a struggle or a clue left behind, was a locket found worn by Anna Maria. A chilling discovery with no understanding why, or how it was left there. There was no definitive weapon or trajectory that could be confirmed. The location, the staging of the vehicle, and proximity to the highway all indicated this was not accidental. Investigators treated Daniel and Anna Maria as homicide victims linked to the broader Colonial Parkway pattern. 4 couples, 8 victims, bound, shot, vanished, deceased. Each case, different details, same signature. No suspect has ever been charged. Some believe it was a rogue law enforcement officer. Others, a series of copycat killings with overlapping geography. There are theories of a lone serial predator who learned and adapted with each pair. And still others think it may be 2 separate killers whose timelines collided. Nearly 40 years later, the road is still quiet, but the silence is so loud. Because whoever hunted on the Colonial Parkway knew exactly how to make people disappear. And maybe, the most frightening disappearance to this day, is the killer's own. Join us next Sunday evening when the 15 Minutes of Murder crew breaks down the details of these haunting and gruesome murders. We'll see you then.